Okay. Make sure this is working. Well, then, are we actually live? Seems so. I'm gonna wait a couple moments. We're starting. Man, what a good day! What a good first day. Why? Why is it doing this? Why is MSI not a tournament? Upsa? What? I mean, I'm so confused. There we go. Huh? Is it just not updated? Is that what's going on? Because I can't find the MSI games on go.gg. Okay, let's just go to teams. Oh, G2 esports. Can I do that? Okay, let me just do cat. What is going on? I think go.gg is just dead. Okay, G2 versus Korea. Surely it's here somewhere. I just want to see the games, man. I have all the games in front of me. Yeah, go.gg is dead. Anyways, let's get started. Oh my god, what a set of games. I don't think a lot of people were expecting Foria versus G2 to be this close. I will say, from behind the scenes, there were a few things that we had heard. The first thing is that apparently G2 were doing well in scrims. That they're in good form. The past few weeks they've been playing really well. That's the first thing that like has been said, right? The second thing that was said is that Furia is actually playing really well. Like they are not only beating teams that are better than them, they're beating teams that are better than G2. Now, when they say teams that are better than G2, I assume they're not playing against any of the playing teams. So that leaves us with, if we're talking about Western teams, that leaves us with FlyQuest, which we know they scrim them. Actually, if you listen to what Toots said, he said that like when they scrimmed against FlyQuest, they learned a lot to the point that he actually credits the scrims against FlyQuest to giving them very important lessons that allowed them to win LTA South. So either they were playing against FlyQuest and beating them. Apparently, like they played against a team, they lost. The next day, they were able to beat them. So that could be FlyQuest. It could be Mad Lions Koi. They could also consider them better than G2. There's an off chance that they're playing against a T1, an AL, or a Gen G. I doubt it, but that door is open. I'm going to stick with chances are they're just playing against, Mad Lions and FlyQuest, and they're winning. They're doing really really well. So two teams that apparently are doing really well in scrims go up against each other, and we see Furia come out to play. Now, I don't think G2 performed very very well. I think Broken Blade had a stinker of a series. I think Giggle actually gapped him. I think that game one, like I understand what Broken Blade was going for, but then he just like completely lost the game on the Warwick. In terms of draft, the Nyla, like I asked Thinkard about that Nyla pick specifically. Well, not specifically, but I asked him about the picks in general, and he said like, IU was just like, oh, I think it's a Nyla angle, and he was like, are you sure it's good against Vi R? He's like, yep, against Kaisa, yep, no problem. and then they weren't worried about the Poppy because he was like, Labrov doesn't really play Poppy. He's not a very good Poppy, so they weren't actually worried about it. So I'm happy that they pulled out like these maybe picks that you wouldn't necessarily expect. And he didn't do like the most damage in the game or anything, but that wasn't his job. His job was like to navigate the lane. He lost the lane, but then in team fights he showed up. He uses alt effectively, and I think the real story of game one was like, okay, we have a huge top gap, and then the mid jungle are playing really, really well together. And Jojo, I mean, he's very experienced. He's playing with Tattoo, like was just a rookie, doesn't know what he's doing, like or not doesn't know what he's doing, but like a rookie who doesn't have that international experience, and they win game one in a dominant fashion. And it's like, is G2 just going to collapse? And that's sort of like the storyline of like what is going to happen. Game two comes around, and they completely and entirely stomp them. It wasn't even close. I'm trying to look at the drafts here, but Gold.gg is kind of dead for me. I don't know. Let me try one more time. Teams G2, and then their most recent game. Will you show me their most recent games or no? No, it's not, I guess it's just not updated for some reason. But I have the drafts here. So yeah, that happens in game one. Wait, where is? There we go. Game one honestly really, really, really felt like um INTZ versus EDG. Like people completely expected a 3-0. Like G2 was just gonna curb stomp Furia. Like, why is Furia even here? Why isn't it Cloud9? Cloud9 fans are like, man, imagine if it was us, we'd just be stomping G2. And then game two happens. And it's a completely and entirely different story. Like it pretty much was a complete stomp from G2, right? Like by 15 minutes in, there is just like you could tell this game is over. And then you're like, okay, maybe it was just like one game where they won, and then the rest of the games they're not really gonna play. I thought G2, like Broken Blade, had a much better game too. The Jax, um, he still kind of struggled in lane, especially again. I mean, I know it's like Asante who's making it out instead. Furia, obviously, they're just a better team. They lost, sure, but like they're gonna fix their mistakes, and they're gonna go up against G2 next time. And they're gonna win 3-1. But we'll get to that. I want to go through all the games while people like kind of trickle in. How you doing, by the way, MGL? Um, yeah, I thought game two was like a much better I mean the Varus was just like poke Varus, and he was landing every single arrow. It was just like it was actually just like abuse. Like they kind of like took them out, even though like I said, Broken Blade had a little bit of a rough early game. After a while, it's just Jax. You have 3 items, you have Hourglass, you have a bunch of CDR. Like you just have Counter Strike after Counter Strike after Counter Strike. It felt like Rel really had to like go in, and there wasn't much that you have to just go in, right? You're gonna die, but you have to go in. And honestly, IU's Ezreal wasn't it. Like I know it was a very difficult game for Ezreal, but his Ezreal just wasn't it. Like look at Elk's Ezreal from today, and then look at IU's Ezreal, and it's like worlds apart. Also, the teams play very, very different. I can't wait to talk about BLG, man. It just is so beautiful watching them play. But we'll get to that later. Game three. ThinkCard is G2's kryptonite? I know, dude. ThinkCard refuses to lose to G2. He just figures them out somehow. Actually, you know what's interesting? And I think Peter Dunn even said this, and I think they talked about it on cast as well. But like G2 had such good prep that if it wasn't for G2's prep, like they just lose. G2 had really good draft prep against Furia, like putting them in uncomfortable positions, making them pick champions that they didn't want to pick, taking away like the rookies' agency, sort of targeting them and whatnot in draft. And it like if it wasn't for that, I don't think the G2 like would have clutched this game out. Obviously, game five was a stomp, and that's kind of sad. But I asked ThinkCard about that, and he was like, it kind of was just like we didn't play our game plan well. Like in game five, we got a solo kill bot lane. That should never happen. But now that happened, like it doesn't matter that we made bad plays. Like those kind of cancel out. We just had to not contest second dragon. We have grubs, we have zigs, we scale. We just win the game if we do nothing. But we fought and lost the game there. So I think they just don't make that mistake next time. They go into game three, and honestly, like Rumble was cooking, man. Rumble, like he plays his champions well. Like I know he's a champion. I know he's like experienced, but like he was cooking Broken Blade, and like Broken Blade is usually the pro player that like from the West that actually matches other Eastern top laners, right? Like he's played against, he went up against Bin, and like he's been against Keen, he's been against Zeus. Like he's had good performances against these champions. He's been like a bright star, a shining star, and like today he really dropped the ball. He kind of choked. So if they lost, definitely a lot of people would be pointing out Broken Blade as just like what is this guy doing? Um, but yeah, Gigu was like kind of cooking him. I thought that Pantheon, even though Pantheon got a lot of kills, for Furia, like just wasn't it. Pantheon ults I felt were not the greatest. Game 3 Jujutsu Draft looked insane. It's crazy they struggled that much. I mean, I feel like when you get Jin ahead with kills and you have Annie, like it felt like Caps was struggling on Annie, which you really shouldn't. Like the Lucian Nami is supposed to kind of destroy, right? The Jin Nautilus, but somehow they were ahead and like they still weren't able to finish. Dude, Jin was just like landing every bullet. Nami had to ult him every single time. Trundle just like completely supposed to completely neutralize the Pantheon. Rumble like is supposed to do nothing against the Ornn, right? He's supposed to have a little bit of a lead, but like you're right. Game 3 draft from G2's side, it's just like what can do, right? What counterplay does Furia have? They have to like completely snowball the game, and they didn't. And yet G2 was like kind of struggling, right? Like eh, 20 minutes in, it's like an even game. So there was no struggle. There was no like snowball. It was so sad about Furia. They better beat Gam. Yeah, hate Trundle domination. It is sad. Like it was really close. You could tell the players like in the press conference, the players were like, "Man, we're so mad at ourselves because like we could have won that game. Game 3 was so winnable. Game 5, if we just don't throw a second dragon, like we were chilling." And even Thinkguard was just like, "Man, like it's frustrating. We're kicking ourselves, but we have to like focus up and be like, that just means we're gonna play G2 again. We're gonna beat Gam. We're gonna play G2 again. And we're just gonna win." Capsules is looking for flanks a lot. Yeah. Target whoever is in front of him. Yeah, because they don't have a real tank. Like Trundle just ults whoever is in front of you. The tankiest member is the person with the most HP, which is Tattoo, right? On Pantheon. You ult Pantheon, he's a piece of paper. Like Annie will 100 to 0 anybody that Trundle ults, but like she wasn't doing that, and she was getting caught on the flanks multiple times, which is kind of uncharacteristic, I guess, from Caps. But he did clutch it up. Game 4, though, with the Ashe Seraphine, I mean, I was just like, so first of all, FlyQuest used that to beat Genji one game, right? Which was a nice little throwback to that. But then like G2 kind of like cooked in draft, right? They're like, okay, it's Kalista Nico. Everybody plays Kalista Nico. Oh, we're gonna fifth pick the Blitzcrank. We first pick like the most OP champion in the Fury, like open up in the jungle. Like you can see how this comp can just run over the early game. They didn't. They had a Scion. Like it would and Ashe Seraphine just like it didn't matter. It really didn't matter what G2 did. It was just such a huge comp diff, in my opinion. Like that draft diff and the gameplay as well. Like, okay, Toots is known for playing his assassins. He played Ori really well, but man, getting to see him on a Kali and like the big stage against Caps, that's just like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a professional player, but like I can imagine if I was a professional player and I get to pick my Akali and win a game against like someone as historic as Caps, that just like fills you up with confidence. That's like making a name for yourself, you know? It was really nice to see. I was really hoping he would get at least like a LeBlanc or a Kali or a Zed game, and he got his Akali game. Nocturne, like Tattoo, like really impressed me. I thought he would struggle with a lot of the pressure and like going up against a lot more organized play, but he was playing really well alongside with JoJo and like just knowing when to go in and when to fight, and like he was much more controlled than I expected to see from a rookie jungler going into his first international. It was really really impressive to see. Obviously, Gigo, like you're saying, he pressured BB very well as Sion. Dude, he was playing Sion into Renekton. Like Renekton's supposed to get a lead early. Like Sion did not let him get anything on him. Sion was completely pushing him out. He was constantly fighting. It was a very stressful game if you're a BB as Renekton, because like he really wasn't giving you anything. And obviously there was a lot of global pressure from like the Kakali, from Ash Arrow. We didn't see a lot of like long range Ash Arrows. I think that's a Masu special. But yeah, it was a comp where like you can see how G2 just get an early lead and just completely crush the game. You have a Renekton who's like level 6, literally presses R, like nobody on this team can kill him. But Yo, Callista Blitzcrank that's supposed to crush lane. Ashe Seraphine was destroyed. Dude, level 1, Callista had to base and had to miss CS to tower. They were just destroying the Callista Blitzcrank lane. And like Blitzcrank would get the hook, and it's like, okay, now we can hit you because we're closer. And it was like, what is going on? That like I know Blitzcrank is like LeBron special, but like it just every time he's been picking it out in the past like 3-4 times, it just doesn't do anything. He just is not good at this champion. It just doesn't progress the game. And I feel like one of the things that they're missing with Mickey is like Mickey wouldn't necessarily pick Blitzcrank, but the champions that he would pick were like very, very powerful at progressing the game. We saw the same thing with like the Poppy in game one. His ults didn't matter much. His knockups, his like picks. He doesn't use the champions to progress the game. He's very good at playing with the team, but I don't think Labrov is the type of player that progresses the game. Whereas when he was playing on BDS, he really was that player. So I don't know what's going on with the G2 style. Like he's trying to work around with Skumon, who's also like obviously new, working with Caps. Hansama is like much more lane focused, so we can see like the lane is better, but like they kind of got crushed. So this look from G2 is very different for sure than last year. But at the same time, I don't know, man. It really made me believe in Foria, and like I know I talked about Game 5 already, but like I don't think that draft is losing. You have the Jace for the poke. You have the Jace and the Ziggs for poke. Nar was completely crushing the Gragas. You have Lilia, who's like gonna scale really, really, really well into the late game. You don't really care about Senna scaling because you have champions that can deal well with Senna. You can outrange the Senna. You have Leona for hard engage. You have the Nar engage. Overall, I thought it was like an overall like well-rounded comp. They got the solo kill in the bot lane, the 2v2 kill. They definitely were in a position where if they just don't int, they don't keep fighting, they don't get solo killed in mid, you just like even with that solo kill, even with the bad like top lane play, like you just bunker down, clear your waves, you have long range poke, get your items, get like 3-4 items on your mid and your ADC or your APC, your Ziggs, you just win every single fight, don't you? Like what do they do? They have Jarvan, like Jarvan flash EQ combos. Like who's gonna follow up to that? Right? I guess Yone does have a long reach and he was ahead, but like if you don't give him that huge of a lead, what they just can't deal with you. And it was they even the casters were saying like, why are you fighting so early? You have a just let your Ziggs get death cap, get 4 items, like just let your champions get their items before doing things. And they didn't. And I don't think they're gonna make that mistake again. LeBron plays pretty weird, either too scared or too confident going in too early. I feel that too. Like he either I mean, it's difficult for me to criticize him because I know he's in positions where he wasn't put on BDS, and like it's still a work in progress. We criticized Yike a lot in year one on G2, and then year two, like he didn't have any of those problems. So it's like, yeah, they look pretty uncomfortable on those game 5 champs. Yeah, they did. They looked like they wanted to continue fighting. Like they had a composition of game 4 where like the Ashe Seraphine was like getting a lot of lead. I think what ended up happening was like they got a solo kill bot. They like Nar is completely smashing the Gragas, and it's like, hey, we're strong. We're doing better. We can actually contest these early game. Like Senna is like gonna take a while to scale. We can actually fight early game, and but they really couldn't. They didn't have the setups. They didn't have the damage. They didn't have the items. They didn't have the positions, and they ended up just like bleeding out really, really quickly. And like by 20 minutes into the game, it's like a 4K gold lead, and all of a sudden, like they have items ahead of you. You haven't got like what's it called? The Ziggs never got his death cap. He never got his third item. He was just behind the entire game, and it just makes it difficult to contest anything. You have to go in. You just get one shot. So it was unfortunate to see, but I do think that they will fix those issues and not make those same mistakes going into next week. First, they have to beat Gam. Obviously, Gam got smashed. If we talk about like, let me look up the. Okay, where are the drafts match schedule? I don't like that. What MSI BLG versus Gam game 1. Oh, this is the game that like Gam really looked like they could win. Yeah, so you have Kiaya on Rumble, like torching dude, Bin's and Best is just not it. It's so sad to see. Like he just can't get good at this champion. Like he's gotten a lot better, sure, since the beginning of Split, but it's just not his champion. He's just so much better on Jax, Camille, Fiora, like these champions. But dude, Artemis, the what's the name of that champion? The Varus getting 4 early kills, and then going from 4-0 to 4-5 by the end of the game. They had an early game lead, but BLG, what I noticed throughout all 3 games was this was just like so pretty to see. I guess because I'm playing on a team right now, and obviously it's an amateur team, but like we kind of in review, whenever I'm looking at our team fights, we're like scattered or we're not like we're not able to play the compositions the way we want. And then you look at BLG and like they're getting caught left, right, center. And then you fast forward like 3 seconds in, all of a sudden their front line, their like battle lines are drawn perfectly. You have them in like the positions that you want. You have the Alistar and the Poppy peeling for the Jin and the Talia. You have the Talia in like the positions that you want. And it's like, how did we go from like you getting caught to all of a sudden you have your front line set up and your battle lines and like everybody's moving in from different directions. Everyone knows where they need to go. There's no communication. Like it's not something you communicate, it's something that you know. And it's like every single game, same thing with the Ezreal game, where it's like every time Ezreal wants to go up for a poke, the Wukong is walking up to make sure that he's in front of the Ezreal, and then they back up together, they front walk together. Whenever like you have engages coming from different sides, all of a sudden somehow you fast forward 3 seconds and like the battle lines are drawn, and you like go back 3 seconds and like it looks like they're gonna completely ace them. 3 seconds later, battle lines are drawn exactly in the position they want, pumping out damage. You can't touch them. It's like such a beauty to see every single time. Like this is an LPL team for sure. Like they know how to get into their fights. They know what to do. They know where to be. They know how to like set the fights. But yeah, game one was definitely Gam's best chance. They had that early lead. They kept trying to push their lead, and just like BLG will outfight you. Like it just Elk was on a tear. So a little bit of context: Elk is sick. Elk does not feel well, but he is sick in game, man. He was just like killing it. That game 3, honestly, was a beauty. Or game 2, sorry, game 2 was the Ezreal game. The Ezreal Wukong. Game 2, same thing. They get a early lead. They have Vi Ari. Like if you think of Vi Ari, and they had Kiai on Sion. They have the Rakan. They have so much engage. You think like sure, Ezreal's like relatively safe, but at some point with Vi, Ari, like Rakan, you're gonna get to the Ezreal. Didn't die a single time. Did the most damage in the game. Completely like took over. Just E flash Q, hitting every single Q, dude. He's same Ezreal that knocked out G2 last year from Worlds. His Ezreal's absolutely insane. Knight's Annie is just he does his job. He does his job well. I thought the Wukong game wasn't the greatest from Beishwan, but like Beishwan just has to exist. He just has to be stable enough for this team. Bin, you see his highs, you see his lows. He's still a really really good. He's still a really, really good player. And I thought On had a very good series. I know On has been pretty inconsistent, but today I like he found he was so quick with his engages. It was really cool to see. And then for game 3, like a stomp. That's all I can say. Just complete an entire domination. Knight was using 2 spells and killing people. 2 basic abilities, Q, E, and the person would die. I think the only one that didn't die was Kiaya, and he was left with 200 HP. With like an additional, like what, 250 plus how much additional health did he have? 250, and then another 300, that's 500 additional health, and then another 100, that's like 700 additional health. Like, and he barely had 200 HP at the end of the time. At the end of like 2 spells. I know he died like twice or something like trolling, but that was just absolute domination. Elk on the Caitlyn. Dude, Zing Karma, I actually messaged my coach. I'm like, dude, we should play Zing Karma. It looks so OP, dude. Just Xin Zhao doesn't die. He gets his 3 auto attacks. He heals so much. He gets a shield. He gets his ulti. Like, you can't hit him. It looked like a super early game composition that they completely destroyed Gam. I worry for Gam because I think they're a better team that they showed. I think they can definitely play more late game drafts. But they did kind of all in on early game. I know like if you think of game 3 draft with the Victor, that's more like late game, right? Obviously, Vi Ari is more of an early game. Talia, not Talia, or Corky Varus is more late game. but I think you get crushed so hard that you go against Furia and you don't know what works, right? Because sometimes some things just don't work against a better team. But you go against a team like BLG and you all of a sudden you don't trust in the prep that you have, even though it works against lesser teams. Um, and I worry that they're just gonna mentally collapse against Furia coming up tomorrow. They play first, so they're gonna be playing 3 p.m. EST tomorrow. If G2 doesn't make it out, then Gam in. No, I think Furia is gonna make it in. I think Furia is gonna rematch G2 and they're gonna win. And I have two very specific reasons for it. Number one, I think G2 is going to get stomped by BLG. I think it's not going to be close. If you thought the stomp today was bad, I think it is going to be absolutely illegal what is going to happen to G2 tomorrow from BLG. I think it's not going to be close. I think Broken Blade is going to be broken. I think Caps is not going to have a very good series. Lebrov is going to continue to struggle. Han Samo is the only player from G2 that I felt like played well every single game. I think he's going to continue to play well. I think he's actually a really good player. I know people kind of point fingers at him a lot because his strength is in his lane, not in team fights. And usually we kind of we praise team fighting AD carries a lot because I mean team fights. And Skumon is going to continue to be Skumon. I don't think he does his job well, but he doesn't progress the game the same way that Yike used to. He doesn't find angles. He's a very farming kind of jungler. He's like a budget inspired. He's inspired where he'll farm, but he doesn't punish people's mistakes the way inspired does, in my opinion. Obviously, I haven't watched as much G2 as I watch FlyQuest. But then you have them getting crushed. You have Furia getting a really good day, 3-0 Gam. They're going to go up against each other. Furia is going to have a lot of momentum. G2 is going to be questioning what actually works, right? So that's the first reason I think Furia is going to have a better edge. And then the second reason is I think they're going to come better prepared. I thought G2's prep was the reason they won this series. I thought Furia were just outplaying them. They could have won game 5. They definitely should have won game 3. And I think they're not going to make those same mistakes because they're easily fixable mistakes that they made in those games. I think they're going to come in with better prep, and they're going to show a cleaner hand. And I think they're going to get the better side of the matchup this time. I think the rematch is going to go Furia's way, and we're going to have G2 not making it out, which is crazy to think. Literally yesterday, game started at 3, right? The game started 8 hours ago. So 9 hours ago, 85% of people thought G2 were going to win. I know some betting sites did not allow you to bet that BLG are going to win because they were so heavy favorites. They could only bet on Gam. That's how crazy the matchups were. Obviously BLG kind of crushed, but yeah, I think Furia have enough. And they're very resilient. They're a very resilient team. That's one thing that I don't know that this G2 team has. Because both times in the finals, they kind of collapsed. So it really is looking like there's a real possibility that we get G2 against Furia rematch with all of the momentum. Where was that? On broadcast they showed it. I think it's they have in their Discord, or I don't know where they do the vote, but there's a fan vote. Maybe it's on Twitch stream. I have no idea. But on broadcast, in the waiting room, they were showing before the start of the game, 85% were voting G2 and 15% were Furia. And then I think Raz was honestly, 15% is kind of a lot. I think it's super G2 favored. Yeah, and then it wasn't as favored as people thought it was. Looking at tomorrow's matches, Furia, I kind of already talked about the matchups, didn't I? But yeah, I think Furia match up against Scam pretty well. They have clean macro and they have good ways of winning early games. Whereas with Gam, I don't think they necessarily showed that. Again, they're playing against BLG, so you can't really take that as data when you're playing against a much weaker team. But I think I think Foria have the tools and the prep and the coaching staff to prep them. Obviously, there's a lot of experience on Gam's side with Levi and like just literally every single one of these players has a lot of experience. So that does matter when you're playing against rookies in like the jungle and AD carry position, right? Rookies to international stage. But I do think Furia looked better, and not just because of their opponent, but the moves that they played around the map, I thought looked better. I think they had better compositions as well, and I think they can pull it out. I think they're it's going to be a relatively easy series for them as long as they play to their win conditions and like minimize the mistakes that they make. I think that's the big thing. Like, there's going to be a lot of skirmishing. There's going to be a lot of fights early. That's fine. But when it comes to the team fight positioning, when it comes to drawing your battle lines, when it comes to these objectives, as long as you play cleanly and don't make too many mistakes, I think Furia is just gonna kind of steamroll Gam in that area. And then I think, like I said, G2 is just going to get dumpstered. I think Broken Blade not having a good series, like Bin is going to feast on you. But okay, we say that Bin has had an up and down like split. Obviously, he's powered up over playoffs, right? We have to take in the recent form, right? But Bin is still one of the best top laners in the world. And when you're playing against a Flandre, when you're playing against the Shy, when you're playing against 369, like when you're playing against these players and you're not doing too well, you're not like Bin from last year. That doesn't mean you're not gonna crush someone like someone else, right? It just means that you're playing against some of the best top laners in the world. And so you need to be even higher of a level in order to beat them. Whereas Broken Blade, if he's not matching up to that level, to the level of a 369 or a Flandre or a Bin, like you don't play at that level, you're gonna get stomped. Like you're just gonna die. You're just gonna die over and over. If he struggles versus Gigu, Gigu is good. Don't get me wrong. He's cooked versus exactly. If he plays like he played yesterday or today, it's gonna look way worse. And that's really scary because the way G2 wins this, I know it's kind of crazy after today's performance to think like how does G2 win is put caps on, like let caps take over games. Have Hansama and Labrov play early game champions, have them like control like play really well in the early game. And if you're dying pre-level 6 multiple times on your Warwick top, like it doesn't matter what Caps can do. It doesn't matter what Hansama and Labrov can do in lane. It doesn't matter where Skewmon plays around. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to even challenge. Like, you think Bin being 1k gold up is not going to mean complete end of like every single tier 2 structure. They're just going to move around, take every single fight, take every single objective, take every single tower. Like, it's going to be absolute domination from these teams that really enjoy fighting. And you just can't have a performance like that. You can't have Labrov like lane well and then just do nothing the rest of the game. It feels like he's moving where he's supposed to be, but he's not making a difference in these games. And we saw On today, and he was on. He does things to progress the game, and we don't see that from Labrov. Like, I know he played what? He played Braum. He played a lot of champions actually. He played the Blitzcrank, right? He played the Braum. That was game 5. Game 4 was Blitz. Game 3 was that was the one they won. So it was the Nautilus. His Nautilus game was not very inspiring, to be honest. His Alistar game in game 2 as well, like even though that was pretty much a stomp, and his he doesn't play Poppy. Like, he's just not a good Poppy player. Furia knew it. Furia was like, it's okay if he picks Poppy. We know he sucks at Poppy. They literally were just like, give him Poppy. Sure, he's bad at it. Yeah, you don't have that. Like, how much pressure is on Caps? Think about it. Your top laner, who's supposed to be, in order to beat these Eastern teams, you need some sort of magic, right? You need a little bit of spice. You need someone who can make plays, who can progress the game in a way that these Eastern top laners or Eastern teams cannot match. Mickey at MSI was that. I mean, Broken Blade was playing amazing. Caps was on form as well. So, like, Yike played pretty well. Hansama was playing well. Like, all of them were playing well. Right now, Hansama's playing well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's playing bad. But I'm just saying, like, it was really, if I had to say the MVP of G2 last MSI, it was Mickey. That was the reason they won 5 games against Team 1. That was the reason they 3-0 TES. That was the reason that they looked so competitive in their games. You don't have Mickey. You have like someone who's like I said, a little bit better in lane, but like in terms of map pressure, in terms of playmaking, in terms of like that magic, that sauce, that wonder, he doesn't have any of it. Broken Blade is just like inting, and then Caps doesn't have that magic, and you have Hansama who's playing well, but not as well as Elk. Elk is sick, and he's like outperforming Hansama. So it's like, what do you want Skumon, the rookie, like to do something? What? He's more of a farm jungler. He's not like a blabber who's gonna go in and like really try to make things happen. So it's like all pressure is on Caps because his top laner is not playing well, and his support and jungle aren't playmakers. What do? Like, just hope that he gets Yone and can completely 1v9? Like, he's not gonna solo kill Knight in lane. Is gonna be a lot more difficult. So what do you do? His ending game left a lot to be inspired. Like, they are putting him on playmakers. They put him on Ari. He lost that game. They put him on the Annie. He lost that. Wait, he lost the Annie game. Yeah, that was the Lucian Nami game, right? No, they won that game. Yeah. They just barely won that game. That's right. So technically, he did win his any game, but it wasn't. I mean, he did. Yeah, he played okay, but I think it was more Furia losing that game. Um, if you just put him on Corki and Tristana, like you put him, give him the his Nico game, another playmaker, did not look very well. Like did not look good at all. So I don't know what you do with Caps if you feel so much pressure. Do you just like revert to playing the Orianna, playing the Victor, and just like trying to be strong? And like when the game falls out of your hands, you're like, well, I didn't have the tools, so you can't blame me. Like, what do you do? It If I'm Caps, I'm asking myself, like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, what do you want me to do? I don't have the tools to carry this game. I mean, Broken Blade, Labrov are running it down. Like some games, especially Caps, is basically Caps Esports. Yeah, it has to be Caps Esports. But then, how is Caps going to be Caps Esports against Knight, an Elk, and like, you need more than just Caps. And I don't think Skumon is it. I don't think Labrov is it. BB's running it down. Like, what do you do? I really don't know. So yeah, I'm predicting a 3-0 BLG and a 3-1 Furia. And then tomorrow at the end, we'll see if I'm right or wrong. Ooh, I should track my predictions. I didn't predict day one, but I'll actually tweet out right now. Predictions for tomorrow. MSI predictions mega thread. Day starting from day 2. Day 2. The first game is the Furia game. Furia 3-1 GAM, and then BLG 3-0. What's their name again? G2 Esports. Sorry, G2. I love you guys, but yeah, y'all are losing. And then we'll see. We'll see the day after. We'll see how much they can actually compete with. Like, if the predictions are right, we'll see how. Like, okay, even if they get 3-0'd, but if G2 look much better, if BB isn't inting, if Labrov is like actually making plays, if Caps is like Caps gaming, right? Even if they lose 3-0, then maybe you have a discussion of like, okay, maybe they can actually win. But if they play like they played today, I actually think just like Furia win again. Like the rematch, I think if they played again right now, Furia would win. So maybe that's like a little bit of bias. Like I know I'm like an honorary Brazilian, so maybe I have a little bit of that zeal, that the bias. It's also part of LTA technically, so we'll see. But I'm gonna be keeping an eye out on the form of the players more than like the result. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for more MSI hot takes.